Everything you are watching right now was made with Dreamina Seedance 2.5, which is now launching globally on Dreamina. This video is officially endorsed and supported by Dreamina, but the testing, comparisons, and opinions you are about to hear are my own. Dreamina's official launch positioning places Seedance 2.5 at #1 in the industry for native 30-second AI video generation. That position comes from a specific capability. According to the official launch materials, Seedance 2.5 is currently the only model in this category that can generate a native 30-second video. I tested what that longer generation actually looks like in practice, including where it works well, where it struggles, and when the older version may still make more sense. My favorite result was an anime sequence, but it did not come from uploading one image and hoping the AI would solve everything. The result depended on how I prepared the references, how many events I put into the prompt, and how much room I gave the characters to move naturally. Seedance 2.5 accepts up to 50 reference materials in one project, including images, video, and audio, but that 50 is not one completely flexible pool. The category limits are 30 images, 10 videos, and 10 audio files. Even if your total is still below 50, you cannot upload a 31st image or an 11th video. For my main test, I used 30 reference images only. They covered the characters, locations, poses, and important story moments. I did not use reference video or reference audio. I wrote the prompt in chronological order and planned how each shot should lead into the next. This takes longer than immediately pressing generate, but it saves credits compared with trying to repair a confused result through random generations. For the first test, I generated a full 30-second video in one shot using 30 reference images. The result included shots I really liked. The character identities, faces, clothing, mood, and important compositions stayed close to what I had prepared. The problem was that I packed too many events into those 30 seconds. The story involved ancient ruins, a cat activating a trap, a collapsing environment, a fall, a grappling line, a destination door, a transformation, a floating city, and a boss. The model captured many of those events, but some sections felt rushed, stiff, or unnatural. A 30-second generation is possible, but it should not be treated like a short film where 10 separate events can be forced to connect automatically. The safer approach is to choose one central idea and give each action enough time to breathe. Using many reference images gave me more control over the characters, clothing, color palette, and major story moments. The downside is that Seedance follows keyframes literally. If two images do not flow together, it may force the movement toward the next image and create an unnatural transition. For the next test, I removed most of the event keyframes and kept mainly the character, environment, and important item references. The motion became more relaxed, but some poses and compositions were less accurate. My preferred balance is to use strong keyframes for hero moments and fewer references for simple actions such as walking, turning, or a basic interaction. I also tested a photorealistic style. In that test, the version with fewer references looked better. The motion and overall image felt more natural. My reference images were not perfect, and when I added too many, Seedance tried to follow their weaknesses as well. The photorealistic results still needed editing. Some moments involving hands, objects, and movement looked wrong, but compared with my earlier experience generating multiple rounds in Seedance 2.0, only 2 rounds in Seedance 2.5 brought me noticeably closer to the result I wanted. Next, I compared Seedance 2.0 and Seedance 2.5 using the same prompt. The concept involved a monster attacking VV, while the cat equipped a shield and tried to block the attack. My first 2.5 attempt reused a 3x3 storyboard grid. The grid contained panel borders and frame numbers, and Seedance interpreted those details too literally. It pulled the borders and numbers into the video. After I removed the grid and kept only the character references, the result became cleaner, although the defensive move still did not follow the exact sequence I imagined. Overall, Seedance 2.5 produced better image quality and followed the complex setup more successfully. But the input still mattered, and I had packed too many events into a short clip. Seedance 2.0 is still useful for everyday scenes, such as talking, standing, walking, or a simple camera move. It is cheaper, and its looser interpretation can sometimes make the motion feel lighter. My preparation starts before I open the generation page. I write the story beats, trim the actions to fit the runtime, create only the references I need, and check the visual continuity. I try to keep the character design, proportions, lighting direction, and camera logic consistent. One contradictory reference can create more problems than it solves. I also tested a white model workflow in Blender. I built a rough 3D scene to establish the objects, spacing, perspective, and camera direction, then used a recording of that scene as a video reference. The result behaved more like an AI assisted render pass than a redesign. The mesh controlled the structure, while Seedance added textures, lighting, atmosphere, and the finished visual style. Because my floating city mesh was rough and blocky, that rough geometry remained visible in the output. A clean, detailed mesh should produce a more predictable and polished result. This can help creators with limited time or limited 3D animation experience test a camera angle, environment, or mockup before committing to the final modeling, animation, lighting, and rendering pipeline. You can find out whether the idea works before spending more time and money on it. For the green screen test, I uploaded a clip of Vivi holding a green placeholder object. Seedance replaced the background and turned the placeholder into a tablet. The framing zoomed out slightly compared with the original, so it was not an exact shot-for-shot match. However, Vivi's identity and motion remained consistent, and the replacement worked well overall. I also tested dialogue in English, Japanese, Korean, and Chinese, because those are the main languages spoken by viewers on my channel. This example is 24 seconds long, and the sequence is much less complicated than the fantasy clips from earlier.
A small idea can brighten your whole day. 小さな発見が毎日をもっと楽しくします. 작은 변화가 오늘을 더 특별하게 만들어요. 每一次小小的尝试都可能带来新的惊喜.
At least in this multilingual test, Seedance 2.5 generated the character speaking all 4 languages directly in the video, and the result was strong enough to make one of my favorite clips. The atmosphere, visuals, and sequence of events matched the script fairly well. Generating the audio together with the visuals also cuts down a few steps when making drafts and makes it much faster to test the mood of a scene. I also ran a separate English voice reference test. I supplied a clean English recording of Vivi and asked the character to speak a different sentence.
Look up. The stars are listening.
The new sentence was not copied from the reference recording, but the generated voice stayed close to the reference in its overall timbre and tone. This suggests that a voice reference can transfer a recognizable vocal character while still allowing new spoken content. The music lip sync test produced another useful result. When the source music was close to the full generation duration, the singing became unstable around the middle and turned into gibberish. For the successful retry, I used a music excerpt of about 6 seconds inside a 7-second generation. The extra time gave the model room to finish the performance instead of rushing the last syllables. I would use this as a practical rule. Generate the video slightly longer than the source audio, then leave the remaining time as a natural hold, rather than asking the character to keep singing after the audio ends. The most obvious movement problem in these focus tests was not the voice. The character was too still because I described what she should say or sing, but I did not clearly describe how she should move. Without explicit performance directions, the model kept the body almost frozen. For a more natural result, the prompt needs to specify small, visible actions, such as a controlled hand gesture, subtle body sway, breathing, eye focus, or a camera move, while keeping the motion simple enough for the mouth to remain stable. The multilingual clip also contains one clear mistake. The character walks backward at one point. I think part of the reason is that I specified the walking direction only in the first scene and did not repeat it in the scenes that followed, so the model filled in the movement by itself. This is a good example of how one small gap in the prompt can carry through the entire clip. But I do not want to judge which language sounds the most native based on my ears alone, especially for languages I do not use every day. Something sounding smooth does not necessarily mean that every pronunciation, stress pattern, and meaning is correct. If I were going to publish this for real, I would check three things separately: whether the spoken words match the script, whether the delivery sounds natural to a native speaker, and whether the lip sync still holds up on words that are spoken faster or take longer in one language than another. The most useful editing test was Dreamina's exclusive intelligent edit mode. You can click edit directly on a video you already generated in Dreamina or upload a different video from your device. For my test, I used an existing restaurant video, selected the part where a bowl of ramen appeared, highlighted only that bowl, and uploaded a reference image of a unique strawberry parfait designed as Little Vivi, my chibi cat character. The main replacement worked perfectly. Dreamina replaced the highlighted ramen with the Little Vivi parfait, and the custom cat design remained recognizable in the edited video. However, the edit did not stay completely confined to the highlighted area. It also removed the ramen from the other tables, even though I had not selected those bowls. In this particular video, that unintended change improved the composition because there were no people sitting at the other tables. Many untouched bowls of ramen with no diners looked strange, so removing them made the restaurant feel cleaner. But that was a fortunate side effect, not precise control. If you need to replace only one object, explicitly say, replace only the highlighted bowl of ramen with the supplied Little VV parfait. Do not remove, replace, or alter any other bowls, food, objects, or tables. Preserve every unselected part of the video unchanged. Always check the entire frame after the edit, not only the selected area. The highlight is useful as a target, but it should not be treated as a guaranteed hard boundary. I have not completed a full hands-on quality test of long video mode yet, so this section is about the current interface, pricing, and expected workflow rather than a final quality verdict. The Dreamina interface offers long video mode with Seedance 2.5 with generation lengths of up to 3 minutes. The system appears to build the result from shorter sections and connect them into one longer video. A longer generation gives you more time, but it also creates more opportunities for characters, objects, locations, and pacing to drift. The current pricing makes the trade-off important. A 30-second generation in regular Omni mode used 3,333 credits. The same 30 seconds in long video mode was listed at 5,220 credits, or 4,050 credits with the current discount. Even with the discount, long video mode costs 717 more credits for the same 30 seconds. For 60 seconds, two regular 30-second Omni generations would use 6,666 credits. A single 60-second long video generation was listed at 10,440 credits or 8,100 credits with the current discount. That is still 1,434 more credits for the same total runtime. These prices are time sensitive and may change. Until I complete the long video test, I would treat it as a tool for building a longer rough cut or testing a story, not as a guaranteed replacement for assembling shorter clips myself. Another limitation is the output resolution. When I tested it, the maximum output was 720p. For medium shots and close-ups, 720p can still look good because the character's face occupies more of the frame. Wide shots, heavy crops, and digital zooms are more likely to expose soft detail or facial distortion. I select the take with the best motion and composition first, then upscale only the shots that pass selection. Upscaling can make an image cleaner, but it cannot repair a broken face, incorrect hands, or a distorted logo. Dreamina may offer higher resolution generation in the future, but I do not think creators need to wait before learning the workflow. The most useful skill right now is writing accurate prompts and preparing consistent references. If higher resolution generation costs more credits later, learning through trial and error at that level could become much more expensive. The current launch discount makes it cheaper to practice now, depending on your region and the offer available to your account. The lowest cost way to begin may be under $20. That lets you test the workflow without committing a large budget. My conclusion is fairly clear. Seedance 2.5 is more capable when you need high detail, natural looking motion, complex action, fantasy scenes, or shots that depend on several strong references. But it does not replace planning. If the references are weak or the prompt contains too many actions, the extra control can turn into forced movement. As a creator working with a limited budget, I would still use Seedance 2.0 for simple scenes when cost matters. For a complicated hero shot with strong references, I would pay extra for Seedance 2.5. In my complex action test, I tried somewhere between 10 and 20 generations with Seedance 2.0 and still could not get close to the result I wanted. Seedance 2.5 got much closer on the first or second attempt. This is my personal result, not a universal benchmark. But in that test, paying roughly twice as much per generation gave me a much better chance of getting a usable result. So the more expensive model could still save credits overall. The best way to save credits is not to write the longest prompt or upload the maximum number of images. Prepare consistent references, remove unnecessary actions, and decide whether each shot needs tighter control or more natural movement. Seedance 2.5 started at 9.7 cents per second compared with 6.6 cents per second for Seedance 2.0. Seedance 2.5 is now available globally on Dreamina, and Dreamina is currently offering limited time launch perks, up to 40% off subscriptions, plus up to 32% fewer credits when you use a reference. So if you want to test the 30-second workflow, long video mode, or intelligent edit mode on your own footage, this is the best time to try it before the launch discount ends. Start with one clear shot or one targeted edit before spending credits on a complicated sequence. Comment Dreamina and I will send you the link. And if you've already tried it, feel free to leave a comment about your experience. If you enjoy AI content for entertainment and productivity, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.